So with all that in mind, you guys, everything we've discussed, it really does lend itself to the fact that like classic really is more of a subjective point of view as opposed to something that we can really define for everybody. There's not one set definition. So with that in mind, did you guys realize for yourself like what the actual definition of a classic is?
Yeah, for me, I kind of wrote down some notes of what I feel is a classic, and it's classic productions. They don't necessarily give you this feeling of being dated, but more or less, as you relayed earlier, Reba, is nostalgic. It gives you sort of a nostalgic feeling. There are things that, for me at least, I can watch them over and over and over again. And they either set a standard or they set a new standard for a particular genre. And that's kind of where, for me, Nightmare on Elm came in. As far as a TV series that kind of falls into that category, for me, it's The West Wing. It's a series that I can watch episodes ad nauseum, and it never gets old to me.
Yeah, for me, they have to resonate with me emotionally. That is a huge thing. Terry accuses me of liking mainly dramas, and I think he's absolutely right about that. I like dramas, that's true. And so movies have to resonate with me emotionally, and that is not to say that I don't like comedies and such. That's not to say that, but that is a big thing. That is a big element for me, and that is why Philadelphia is a movie that it carried a great deal of meaning for me. But it also has, cinematic importance, to use Ben Mankiewicz's term. As I said, to that point, before Philadelphia, there wasn't a film that humanized people with AIDS, and this film did. And it was about time. It took too long coming. And so it set that standard, to Chris's point. Another movie that does this for me, that Terry and I talk about all the time. Don't just talk about, we still watch this film, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. I won't go into it again because we've talked about it on about half of our episodes. But the difficulties that the main character goes through makes you really feel for her, and to see her figure out, the movie does such a great job of letting you see how she figures out how to navigate her way around these roadblocks that are constantly thrown in front of her. And as we said before, we often like what she decides to do. And it's not a film that made me cry, but it is a film that made me feel something. That someone could come through all of that and use whatever strength they had to get over, to get by, to get around. So yeah, that is what makes something a classic for me.
I think there are things that I would call classic that I either they're not my personal cup of tea, or also there are things I would call a classic that I like but aren't necessarily my favorite. Like for instance, so like I think Cheers is a classic, but I would just watch. I would probably watch Frasier over Cheers just because that's something I grew up with. But Cheers I would consider more of the classic television show. I mean, Frasier's derived from it.
Afternoon, everybody. How's life, Tommy? I'm not gonna win any awards, Coach. Trying to put a broom in my face, please. Right ahead.
So, what have you been up to there, Nami?
Well, I went out this afternoon for the first time since Vera and I split up.
Oh, hey, okay. Who's the lucky damsel?
Arlene Horsley.
And then another thing that I would call a classic that isn't necessarily my favorite sitcom is Third Rock from the Sun, just because just the premise of it having a family of aliens disguised as humans, and having a more comedic take on it, because I feel like at the time a lot of outside of maybe ET, a lot of alien based storylines were around fear and around the idea of taking over, and so to have a very lighthearted comedy with some very funny comedic actors in it, and to run for, I don't remember exactly how many seasons it was, but it was a pretty long running sitcom, and to me, I think just the premise made it kind of a classic.
Yeah, it was incredibly funny.
Say I binged Mad Men during and it was funny. We got to, I think it was season 5, and we were watching like 5 a day or something like we were watching a lot of them.
During COVID,
And
though,
like,
to your point.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got to a point. There was a point in an episode where it just, the clock in my head said that the episode should be ending, basically. And
Yep.
and I think I grabbed the remote, and I was like,
Oh, no.
and I was like, I just to get to like see where where it was at
How
the
much
time, and I was
longer?
like, God damn, how long is this thing? How much longer is this episode? It was like,